Okay, in this video we will continue the mains answer writing series. So now we'll discuss a question. So this is the question: what are the major reasons for declining rice and wheat yield in the cropping system? How crop diversification is helpful to stabilize the yield of the crops in the system? So in this question you can see that there are two parts. First one we have to answer. It is a very simple question, previous year questions asked by UPSC. So I have written the answer. I will explain it to you and you can write it in the same way. So first we will look at the first part of the question: what are the major reasons for declining rice and wheat yield in the cropping system? So you have to identify the keywords again. So major reasons, and then rice and wheat yield, and then cropping system. So these are the keywords. Now you have to answer the first question. So first you have to explain rice and wheat in terms of cropping system. So I have written rice wheat cropping system is labor, water, capital, time and energy intensive. So as we all know, this rice and wheat cropping system requires a lot of labor, lot of water, capital also, time and energy intensive, and becomes profitable when the availability of these resources diminishes. So if all of these resources, or even one or two of these resources are not available, then the profitability will decrease and diminish. The problem is further exacerbated by dynamics of climate change. So the problem can be further enhanced by the dynamics of climate change. As we know, nowadays a lot of climate change is happening due to lot of major issues, man-made issues. So it is affecting agriculture also. So the dynamics of climate change is changing of agriculture is changing, and due to climate change, and this also causes a problem in rice and wheat cropping system. So the relevant factors for decline in yield are discussed below. So I have written the factors which I think that are responsible for this declining rice and wheat yield in the cropping system. I have written the major factors, major reasons, which is asked in the question. So the first one I have written decline in soil fertility. So due to continuous irrigation and use of excessive flood irrigation, that is, a lot of water is used. In case of flood irrigation, the area is flooded by water. Soil in rice wheat cropping system has become saline. It has resulted in decrease in crop yield, because all the other minerals and major things required for better yield, like phosphorus, potassium, nitrogen and magnesium, all these things are washed away by and the salts are also, and many of the other salts are also washed by the flood irrigation. So the soil becomes saline and it results in the decrease in crop yield. Then the second one is the climate change. As we all know, we have discussed earlier. According to studies, climate change has a negative effect on major crops such as wheat, rice and maize. Increase in annual temperature range has also affected the crop yield of rice and wheat. So we know the annual range of temperature is rising due to the climate change and man-made activities, which results in pollution, global warming, all these factors. So the annual temperature is rising, and so this affects the agriculture and the rice and wheat yield. There was a study in which it was found that the countries in the tropical climatic regions, and especially the not the subtropical climatic regions, but mainly in near the tropics, that means near the equatorial region and between the tropics, will become so hot by 2050 that the crops which are grown in these countries will not be able to grow, because the annual temperature is rising and the earth's temperature is also rising. And the countries which are located near the poles, not near the poles but near the Arctic Circle and the Antarctic Circle, like the UK and the European countries, which are cold countries, Norway, Sweden, Finland, these countries will become good for agriculture, and agriculture will be done here because the annual range of temperature is increasing. So these countries will, by 2050 to 2060, there was a study, these countries will be good for growing crops which are nowadays grown in the equatorial countries or the tropical countries. So this is one of the major reasons, climate change. Then the third reason is increased input cost. So high rate of infestation with weeds and pests along with contamination of groundwater has resulted in high cost of input of cultivation of rice and wheat. So we all know weeds, pests and contamination of groundwater, these are due to pollution, groundwater pollution, excessive use of groundwater, and also washing of effluents and industrial effluents, as well as house water waste into the groundwater, as well as other contaminants into the groundwater has resulted in the contamination of groundwater. Then there is use of weedicides, pesticides, all these things. So there is increased input cost. Fertilizers and insecticides are also used. Change in water availability. So now, due to the excessive rise of groundwater, due to the excessive use of groundwater and consequent depletion of groundwater resources, we will move on to the next page. So this was the reason. Due to excessive use of groundwater, there is a change in water availability, because the groundwater level has gone down, because as we know, the cities are developing in India, and mainly due to the cities, the concrete area is increasing, so less water penetrates inside the ground, and due to the rain, and less water penetrates inside the ground, and so the groundwater is not recharged up to the level as it was 10 or 20 years back. So there is groundwater level depletion, and due to these factors, there is change in the water availability in rural areas also, or rural areas which are near the cities. So due to the excessive use of groundwater and consequent depletion of groundwater resources, this is one of the reasons. This is the fourth reason. Then we'll move on to with the answer. Therefore, it is imperative to focus on alternate crops. Crop diversification refers to a shift from the regional dominance of one crop to production of a number of crops. Crop diversification helps in. So we are telling here that it is not like it, we can grow rice and wheat, but we should not be dependent on rice and wheat forever. Like the producer should also not be dependent on rice and wheat for its profit, as well as the consumer should also not be dependent on rice and wheat, because due to the above four factors which I have listed, there could be shortage of availability of rice and wheat. So we can do crop diversification, as well as shift from regional dominance to one crop to production of a number of crops. Like we have seen that in some areas some crops are dominant, like in UP, Bihar, rice and wheat, all these crops are very dominant, but we can shift from those crops to other crops also. So this is so this will help in crop diversification, and it will help in maintaining soil fertility. Only those crops are grown in a particular region which can be supported by the soil there. So first the soil is tested, and then then it is identified which minerals or which biotic factors are there in the soil, which biotic factors and which minerals are there in the soil, and which are used for growing the crops, and then only those crops are grown in that tested soil, which will result in which will not decrease the soil fertility as well as maintain the soil fertility. So only those crops are grown in a particular region which will maintain the soil fertility. And then to arrest depletion of groundwater, we can also do this to arrest depletion of crop diversification. Will also help to arrest depletion of groundwater, because there will be no flood irrigation and less water intensive crops can be grown. And habitat for beneficial insects and reduce colonization by pests. So this can also be done. Like we can create a habitat for beneficial insects in the fields, which will reduce colonization by pests. So these are all the factors, and you can write these in 2 points also. Like first one, habitat for beneficial insects. So we will not so this will help in not if we prepare a habitat for beneficial insects, so we will not be we will have to use insecticides very less, and because there will be beneficial insects, and the insects which destroy the crops will not be there. And the second point is that we will reduce the colonization or by pests. So you can write in 1 point also, you can divide it in 2 points also. So this is the answer of this question. We have discussed both the parts. Like first one is about the rice and wheat yield in the cropping system. We have discussed this, and the second one about crop diversification. So in the crop diversification, I have given 3 points, but you can divide it and make it 4 points also, and you can add your points also, your vision also, as well as whatever you feel right. This is my answer. You can add more knowledge to it, more data to it, and more government reports, climate reports, all those things you can add. You can make the answer more specific, because if you add those things, you will get more marks. This is a more generalized answer. So I hope you found this video informational. I will see you in the next video.